Hello, my name is Karen Fitzgerald, and I'm the Jewish lay leader at JBLM. We can be found at the main Post Chapel Annex and on Facebook, JBLM Jewish Communities. Links are also available on First Court Chapel pages. And now Phil's going to come up and talk about this week's Torah portion.
In researching for today's portion, I wanted to take a moment just to acknowledge the work of Rabbi Jonathan Sacks. I drew information and inspiration from one of the articles that Rabbi Sacks shared on his website. Now, in the opening of this week's Torah section, we read about Korach. The stage opens with Korach getting 250 of his closest colleagues together, and the group stands in front of Moshe, and Korach says, "You have gone too far. The whole community is holy, every one of them, and the Lord is with them. Why then do you set yourselves above the Lord's assembly?" Such a challenge. And like so many challenges, there is a hint of truth in Korach's words. After all, Hashem had declared Israel would become a kingdom of priests and a holy nation, thus indicating that every member of the nation is a priest and that Israel is a nation in which all the citizens are holy. So why Moshe being so high and mighty? Interestingly, this is not the first time Moshe had been challenged in his leadership approach. Consider one. Consider Yitro's challenge that we read about earlier this year in Exodus. In that section, we read that Yitro, or Jethro, admonished Moshe for taking too much of the leadership responsibilities on his own shoulders and told Moses to share the load. Assign others to take some of the routine decisions and judgments. In that case, Moses heeded Jethro's advice and appointed a cast of administrators and judges that took on some of the loads, making the routine decisions and judgments. In that case, Moses heeded Jethro's advice, and they only brought the most difficult cases up to Moshe. So why the difference with Korach? I noted that there are at least two significant differences between Jethro's challenge to Moses and Korach's challenge to Moses. First, Jethro's challenge sprouted from a concern for the well-being of both Moses and the people. Jethro saw what was going on and understood that Moses' approach was unsustainable. Jethro then offered a solution that did not undermine Moses' position, but rather bolstered Moses' position while making life easier for all. Korach's challenge, on the other hand, was based on self-concern. Korach looked at the situation and concluded that he could have a leadership role. Korach took on a kind of why not me kind of point of view. His challenge undermined Moses' position and didn't really offer a solution that would make life easier for all. Second, Jethro's challenge came from a position of understanding the true situation of leadership. Jethro understood that leadership is a function rather than a position. He looked at the situation and recognized the function of Moses' duties and saw how that function could be improved. On the other hand, Korach saw leadership as a position, a status symbol, a place of privilege. Korach saw leadership as something that made one a little higher than those around the leader. Korach kind of wanted to be top dog, to experience all the privileges that came from being the leader. Moses taught leadership in a different way. He taught that leadership is not a position, it is a function. Leadership is not a position of privilege. Leadership is a position of service. And this service is a service to Hashem, service to God. Not really just a servant to the people, but a servant to Hashem and thus serving the people. It's interesting that the Torah commanded that even the king would be required to carry a Torah scroll around with him and read it all the days of his life, quote, so that he may learn to revere the Lord his God and follow carefully all the words of his law and these decrees, and not consider himself better than his fellow Israelites. I find an interesting parallel in the oath that many of us took, or perhaps a loved one took, as part of our military service. In our oath, we don't swear allegiance to royalty, to the president, or even to the government. Our oath is to defend the Constitution of the United States, that collection of ideals, that framework of civic morality and justice. In closing, let's challenge ourselves. The next time we feel the urge to offer a challenging statement to a leader in our lives, whether home, synagogue, community, or country, let's consider offering our feedback from Jethro's perspective rather than Korach's. Now Karen will share something about the Haftorah. Karen.
Thank you, Phil. That was very enlightening. And now the Haftorah is from the book of 1 Samuel. It tells the story of Samuel, the last and greatest of the men known as Shoftim, or judges. There were about 12 judges who ruled over the Israelite tribes for several centuries after they entered Canaan, between the time of Joshua and the appointment of Saul as the first king of Israel. Samuel proved to be a prophet and judge of outstanding character, and he was able to unite the Israelite tribes during the years of his dedicated leadership. When Samuel grew old, the leaders of Israel asked that he appoint a king over them. Samuel tried to dissuade them, but the people were determined, and so Samuel asked God for help in choosing the ruler. God informed Samuel that Saul was the one to be anointed king of Israel. The Haftorah tells of Saul's coming to the throne. Samuel's farewell address to Israel is also part of this Haftorah. The link between the Haftorah and the Parsha is that of the ingratitude of Israel towards their great leaders, Moses and Samuel. In the time of Moses, they supported the rebellion of Korah, and in Samuel's time, they called for a king to lead them in Samuel's place. Thank you. Have a good week. Shavua Tov. Until next time.